The old astrologers, back in the times of Ptolemy and the beginnings of Chaldean astrological research, divided the 7 ages of man between the then known planets, and to cover everything above the age of 70, they said Saturn rules from then to the end of life. This is subject to some modifications, however, and it seems to me that the answer is that we will have to recalculate the period after 70. I think we should begin by saying from 71 to 80, the individual is under the rulership of Uranus. From 81 to 90, Neptune. And from 91 to 100, Pluto. In other words, we need to include these others in our calculating, for the simple reason that human life expectancy at the present time brings these influences to bear upon ever more human beings who may survive into the 80s, 90s, and even reach 100. So to cover all of this, it becomes necessary to assign various significant activities to those older years, rather than to simply sum them up and say from Saturn on is the end. It isn't the end anymore. And we have to begin to evaluate the life of the person who has passed through the old Chaldean cycle. Actually, the problem of what to do with life after retirement from active occupations is now becoming very important, because more and more persons have anywhere from 10 to 20 or 25 year life expectancy after retirement from business, or the responsibilities that have held their attention during their important economic years. Now, when we come to study this, we try to think out what man is really concerned with in life. And we find that to the average person, life is simply a process of continuing to supply oneself and one's families with the necessities of material existence. In other words, it's a workday world, either physical labor or mental labor, through the productive years of our economic existence. Yet actually, we must realize that the process of making a living in this physical environment is possibly the least important aspect of our existence. From a physical standpoint, yes, it is necessary. But beyond that point, we have to remember that anything that we accumulate in this world must stay behind when we leave. And if we have nothing to take with us, the question is, how important a life have we actually experienced? Have we done anything that can go forward except perhaps a moral quality of having been as honest as conditions permitted? This means that there is some other reason for life than merely paying for the food we eat and the housing that shelters it. We have to have something that develops within ourselves. The advancement of the person is also an important part of living. And this is generally summed up in the term experience. The things we experience in life become very important to us as we grow older. But if by any chance we have had a melancholy nature, we can wipe out the value of experience. If it has been against our general happiness or our desires, we can forget it or consider it a loss. Actually, however, experience is the thing that is most important in the life that we live. We are here to learn through experience. This is exactly the opposite of what has become considered to be an adage of importance. a slogan by which to live. And so it goes something like this: if I want it, I will have it. If I don't want it, I won't accept it. Now, on this arbitrary basis, pleasure, comfort, personal satisfaction at the moment, evasion of responsibility, and a certain plaudit or overtone of success, these become the important factors in life. The result is that we have very, very little to work with. Now, quite often we come across people in various conditions of what we might term a maturity of living. The individual who reaches retirement age may take as a slogan, "I'm through with work. Now I'm going to enjoy myself. Don't ask me to do anything I do not want to do." That sounds pretty good if you can get away with it. But has the individual an answer for that part of his own statement, namely that he is going to try and be happy? He is going to try to do the things he has always wanted to do. He is going to use his advancing years to really do what has been on his heart and mind since the beginning, and which probably has been blocked by economic necessities. With at least 15, maybe 25 or even 30 years of reasonable activity possible to him, what is he going to do with this time? Most people seemingly do not make much use of it, because when they reach retirement, they have a sudden break in their life pattern. All of a sudden, the busy individual has nothing to do. He may be on a comfortable pension or Social Security, but he has nothing to do that he has long done and about which he has habits and skills. He suddenly finds himself with a future that is completely uncharted. And we see what people do with this future, and sometimes it's a little pathetic. One group will settle down to play canasta for the rest of their lives, and they will be able to fill up almost every moment of their waking hours with trivia that means nothing, which they are not even going to think about. Another individual group will decide to travel, but they may be unprepared for travel and may find it a little too much of an exertion after a while. They are trying to fulfill a certain type of frustration. They've always wanted to do different things and visit different places. Another group simply sits quietly in front of the television and lets the television make the noise. And it does. And they watch every program carefully and feel that they are having what they've always looked forward to, the pleasure of doing nothing. Others move in on family. They find an effort to control their descendants. They want to influence the lives of their children and grandchildren, perhaps more than is best. After all, such interference is largely finding something to do that seems to be important. Then there are a few who try to improve their mental lives. They have decided, as an old friend of mine once decided, that there might be many people speaking Spanish in the years ahead, so he might as well learn now and know it when he comes back in his next embodiment.